This is a fan-generated show. If you would like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com and also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Our very special guest this evening, Robert Spencer, the director of Jihad Watch. Robert Spencer, welcome to the Glazov Gang.
Great to be here, Jamie. Thank you very much.
Our topic this evening, Obama quotes Muhammad's speech endorsing the Caliphate and Beheading. Robert Spencer, Obama was at this very interesting mosque the other day and said some very interesting things. Let us begin with him referring to this speech of Muhammad's, and obviously whether he knew or didn't know what he was actually referring to.
Obama quoted many things during his speech about how wonderful the Quran is, how wonderful Islam is, and he quoted the Quran, for example, saying, whoever kills an innocent person, it's as if he's killed all mankind. He left out that that passage is actually part of a larger passage that tells the Jews that they should not kill people, and then chastises them for transgressing against his command. So it's really just an attack on the Jews. And then in this particular passage, he quotes Muhammad from a hadith saying that you should treat others the way you wish to be treated. But the hadith in the actual source, Muhammad goes on to say, if you have given your allegiance to a caliph, then obey the caliph, and even if he's a sinner, you should obey him. And if a rival comes along and says he's the caliph, you should behead the rival claimant. So he's quoting this passage that's violent and is endorsing beheading and the concept of the caliphate, but he's only picking out a little bit. It's very telling when he is trying to show that Islam is a religion of peace. He can't actually find a passage from the Quran or the Hadith that's actually fully peaceful. He can only cherry pick passages from the Quran and Hadith that are not fully peaceful, but which just have a little peaceful passage he can use in the context of a larger violent passage.
So Robert, this is incredible here. So we have the President of the United States quoting from Muhammad's speech, and this is written about in the Hadith, and the speech is endorsing and glorifying the Caliphate, supporting beheading. The media does not call the president on this, doesn't require any accountability, complete silence. Who does Obama know what he's referring to? Do his advisors know what they told him to say? If that's the case, what do you make of this?
Well, I don't know how far back you have to go to get to the person who actually took the statement from the Hadith and knows what the rest of the Hadith says, and took the other statement from the Quran and knows what the Quran actually says. I would expect that it's almost certain that Barack Obama doesn't know, and probable that the speechwriters don't know either, but that they were probably fed this material. Obama invited a member of the Hamas-linked Council on American Islamic Relations to his speech, and the speech, of course, was at the Islamic Society of Baltimore, which has links to the Islamic Society of North America, which has admitted ties to Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. And so it's likely that he got a list of peaceful passages from the Quran and Hadith that he could use in his speech from one of those sources, probably from CAIR or ISNA or one of his Muslim advisors. And it's likely that they knew where it all came from. But of course, they're trying to keep Americans ignorant of and complacent about the nature and magnitude of the jihad threat. So it's in their interests to obfuscate what the passages really say.
So Robert, let's backtrack a little bit for a minute. What exactly was this mosque? Tell us about this mosque a bit. And surely Obama knows what this mosque is about. Surely he's received intelligence reports. Why would he be there after you tell us what you're going to tell us now?
Well, yeah, I agree that he must know this part. I don't think he knows the context of his Quran and Hadith quotes, but I think that it's inconceivable that the President of the United States would not know that CAIR is a group with multiple links to Hamas that has several of its members convicted and in prison now for jihad terror offenses. that has always opposed counterterror measures all over the country, that advises its members not to cooperate with law enforcement. And so I think he must know that, and yet he still invited somebody from CARE to go with him. He must know that ISNA is a Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood group, and yet he went to speak to an ISNA mosque. And this mosque, he must know, has been under FBI surveillance since 2010. And it was under FBI surveillance, and still is, as far as I know, because there was a jihad mass murder plot that originated from an individual who went to this mosque.
Let me ask you this, Robert. You know, Rush Limbaugh pointed out something very profound recently. He said, if Obama's always praising Islam so much, glorifying Islam so much, why isn't he a Muslim then? He says he's a Christian. We never see Obama praising the Christian faith or talking in any kind of beautiful, loving way about Christianity or about the Savior, Jesus Christ, in Christianity. Always glorifying Islam, praising Islam, excusing Islam. If Islam is so great, why aren't you a Muslim then?
Are you asking me?
No. It's a rhetorical question about the president.
No, you're quite right, Jamie. The thing is, we know that people still ridicule the idea that Obama is a Muslim. The mainstream media acts as if it's a sign of racism and bigotry just to ask the question. But the question has persisted 7 years into his presidency because his actions so completely follow the Islamic agenda to the T. And he's encouraged Sharia governments around the world, including Iran, of course, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood regime in Egypt that was short-lived but enthusiastically supported by Obama. Now, the thing is, whether or not he's a Muslim today, and I think that he's probably not religious, but he certainly has a clear high regard for Islam, and that comes from his background. His father was a Muslim, his stepfather was a Muslim. He certainly was a Muslim when he was young. He was registered as a Muslim in school in Indonesia. These records are public and easily available. And he says in his first autobiography that he got in trouble for making faces in Quran class. The Christians didn't go to Quran class. He speaks about a conversion to Christianity later, but you're absolutely right. He's been very harsh and negative toward Christianity and never speaks the slightest negative word about Islam, even in regard to the rampant Muslim persecution of Christians, the jihad threat. He obfuscates and denies, and so on. And so I think that it's a matter of political calculation, that from the beginning of his political career, he was thinking, you can't have a Muslim president. It's not going to happen. People wouldn't vote for a Muslim. And that was probably true up until his presidency, especially after 9/11. And now, of course, we're always beat about the head by the idea that there's absolutely no difference between any of the religions. They're all essentially the same. They all teach that we should love one another. And so why not have a Muslim president? But at the beginning of his political career, I think he was calculating that he would get farther if he identified as a Christian.
Robert, well, here's the thing, too. It's so obvious, evident in our culture now, in our society. If you even raise that Obama might be a Muslim, even the news reports, such and such percentage of Americans think Obama is a Muslim, but they never actually discuss it. They never get into the issues. And there's this implication, this aura that it's somehow racist or bigoted to even think about this. But the bottom line, as you indicated, as you've said, is the scholar Dr. Daniel Pipes has documented, Obama had a Muslim youth, period. It's a fact. So let us hypothetically suppose and say that it's a great thing to be a Muslim. Simple question. You used to be a Muslim, now you say you're a Christian. When was the conversion moment? Why has this question never been asked?
Well, it never is asked because the mainstream media is Barack Obama's press agency and never raises any questions that might cast him in an unfavorable light. And so they've been completely uncurious about this, despite all the points that you've raised. And it's true, there is a lot of mystery surrounding the time of his conversion as well. He says that he converted, he says that he became a Christian, but there has never been any baptismal record produced. And baptism is generally something that Christians do. It seems unlikely that he would not have been baptized, but there's no date, no record, and I know that a lot of churches list this sort of thing and keep track of it. Nothing. And so you have to wonder here again, is this whole thing for show and for appearance, or is there any substance to it?
Robert, very briefly, the president glorifies a religion that teaches that somebody like him should be executed if he used to be a Muslim and became a Christian.
That's true, but there's been not a peep. Nobody says this apostate Obama in the Islamic world. I have never seen that. And so you have to wonder, what is it that has prevented him from being excoriated in this way in a culture that considers apostasy to be a death penalty offense? And that raises even more mystery about it. And maybe people have an idea that he is working to advance the agenda that the Islamic supremacist groups are advancing, and so they don't have that kind of a problem with it.
Robert Spencer, thank you for joining the Glazov gang tonight.
A pleasure, Jamie, as always.
Thank you for everything that you do. Very quickly, tell our audience about your new book.
The Complete Infidel's Guide to ISIS is exactly that, a guide to ISIS for infidels, which is pretty much anyone that is not under the purview of ISIS or allied with ISIS. It is what the administration doesn't want you to know about the Islamic State, what the media doesn't want you to know and isn't telling you about the Islamic State, what their plans are, which is quite chilling, their motives, their goals, their modus operandi. It's all in that book. And also I can tell you that just yesterday, Jamie, I turned in the manuscript for my next book, The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran, which will be out in a few months from Regnery Publishing. Watch for it at any self-respecting bookstore.
Wow, congratulations, Robert. You're getting a lot of work done and getting the truth out there. Most important question of the show, what is the best talk show out there that deals with these issues?
Jamie, I congratulate you for being the world's challenging counter-jihad chat host, the only one willing to grapple with these formidable issues. Somebody who leaves Kimmel in the dust and Fallon weeping with your acumen for taking on the greatest threat our nation faces.
Your check is in the mail, Robert Spencer. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this program and you appreciate or are interested in what we talk about, please go to jamieglazov.com and support the show, and kindly subscribe to our Glazov Gang YouTube channel. And we'll see you next week on the Glazov Gang. Good night.